The Battle of Ridaniya, fought on January 22, 1517, was the decisive clash that ended the rule of the Mamluk Sultanate and brought Egypt under the control of the Ottoman Empire. This battle was the culmination of the Ottoman-Mamluk War, a conflict that had begun in 1516 when Ottoman Sultan Selim I sought to expand his dominion into Mamluk-controlled lands, particularly the lucrative trade routes and religiously significant territories of the Middle East. The Mamluks had ruled Egypt, Syria, and the Hijaz for centuries, but by the early 16th century, their military and administrative systems were outdated, relying heavily on cavalry and traditional close combat tactics, whereas the Ottomans had perfected the use of gunpowder weapons, particularly artillery and muskets. The turning point in the war came at the Battle of Marj Dabak in August 1516, when Selim's forces decisively defeated the Mamluk army in Syria, leading to the death of Mamluk Sultan Kansa al-Ghuri and the fall of the Levant to the Ottomans. Following this victory, Selim pressed his campaign southward into Egypt, aiming to capture Cairo, the heart of Mamluk power. After Kansa al-Ghuri's death, Tuman Bay II was proclaimed the new Mamluk Sultan and immediately began preparations to defend Egypt. Knowing that the Ottomans were advancing, he fortified the approach to Cairo at Ridaniya, a strategic location northeast of the city, hoping to catch the Ottomans in a well-prepared defensive position. He positioned his troops behind fortified trenches and set up cannons to counter the Ottoman advance. His forces consisted mainly of Mamluk cavalry, some infantry, and local militias, supported by mercenaries and Bedouin auxiliaries. However, despite his efforts, the Mamluks were at a severe disadvantage. While their traditional heavy cavalry had once been among the most feared in the Islamic world, it was no match for the disciplined Ottoman forces, which included Janissary musketeers and artillery regiments trained in modern battlefield tactics. Selim, known for his cunning strategy, anticipated the Mamluk defensive preparations and decided to outflank them instead of engaging in a direct assault. Rather than attacking from the expected route, he led his forces in a surprise maneuver through the desert, striking from an unexpected direction and rendering Tuman Bay's defensive positions largely ineffective. The Ottomans unleashed a devastating artillery barrage, shattering the Mamluk lines, while the Janissaries advanced with disciplined musket fire, cutting down the Mamluk cavalry before they could engage in hand-to-hand combat. The battle quickly turned into a rout as the Mamluks, despite their renowned skill in mounted combat, were unable to withstand the firepower and organization of the Ottomans. Tuman Bay fought fiercely, leading counterattacks in person, but his forces were overwhelmed. Realizing that the battle was lost, Tuman Bay retreated to Cairo, where he attempted to organize a last stand, rallying the city's population and resorting to guerrilla tactics in the narrow streets. For a brief period, he managed to resist the Ottoman occupation, but Selim's forces eventually stormed the city. After days of fierce urban fighting, the Ottomans fully secured Cairo. Tuman Bay fled into the countryside, seeking refuge among the Bedouins, but he was eventually betrayed, captured, and brought before Selim. Despite some Ottoman officials advising clemency, Selim ordered his execution, and Tuman Bay was hanged at the city gates of Cairo in April 1517, marking the final collapse of the Mamluk Sultanate. With Egypt under Ottoman rule, Selim I not only gained control over one of the wealthiest provinces in the Islamic world but also secured the loyalty of the Sharif of Mecca, making him the de facto ruler of the Islamic holy cities of Mecca and Medina. This greatly enhanced the prestige of the Ottoman sultans, who now claimed the title of caliph, asserting their dominance over the Muslim world. Additionally, Egypt's conquest provided the Ottomans with immense economic benefits, as they now controlled the trade routes between the Mediterranean, Red Sea, and Indian Ocean, significantly boosting their empire's wealth and strategic influence. The Battle of Ridaniya was thus not only a military victory but also a defining moment in Middle Eastern history, marking the end of Mamluk independence and the beginning of over 3 centuries of Ottoman rule in Egypt.